From Microbe TV, this is Q&A with A&V. And I'm Vincent Racaniello, and the A part, Amy, is on her way back from a Yom Kippur event. So hopefully she'll be here in the next 10 minutes. But I wanted to get started on time. Welcome, everybody. Good to see everyone again. Thanks to our moderators for coming by tonight. Everybody's here. We have Frank, we have Vanity Nutrition, we have Steph, we have Tom. Actually, I didn't see Les. Are you there, Les? Sometimes he's lurking. And welcome to all of you for another week of Virology chat. It's a great little community we've built here. I'm glad that everyone enjoys it. We have pretty much the same people every week, which is great. You're the ones who want to learn. That's how I view it. And good for you for coming here and doing this. So we will go till 10 tonight, even though we're starting a half hour late because, you know, Amy doesn't have dinner until she finishes the live stream, and I don't want her to go on and on forever. But next week we will go to from 8 to 10 because there is no Jewish holiday next week. All right, folks. So I hope everyone loved Paul Offit. I think the comments are usually good. Oh, I have my Spike t-shirt here. Let me show you. There you go. Vax Gratitude. How cool is that? It just came this week. I'm wearing it over a shirt. This is a large, so it just fits over a shirt. It's a little warm in here, so might have to take it off at some point. Fortunately, I have a shirt underneath. So Offit was pretty well received, and I think he was clear on his recommendations for the bivalent boosters. That's right. Yes, TWIV is up to 114,000 subscribers, and I am at 149,000 followers on Twitter. That's pretty good. So, you know, you say something and a number of people listen. So this is all good. And, you know, I figure it's just going to keep growing, right? Because you get to a certain point and it's kind of like, what is the word? I can't remember the word. Anyway, you keep on going and going and going. Yeah, I like the black with the silver spike on. I think it's a good look. And I shall wear it, although it's winter now, you know, less time to wear it. So Paul Offit is out. That's doing well. But Lori Garrett I released yesterday, as I promised. She talked about wastewater testing, as you know. Now, you may wonder what's going on with that. So I want to do a monthly podcast with Lori called Public Health with Lori Garrett. Hello, Les. There he is. Thank you. But she's not clear that it will be well received. So you have to be excited about it. So go over to you if you like it. That is, and I think many of you do like it. If you go over to YouTube, make a comment, leave it there, or if you're on Twitter, tweet at her because I think she sees those a lot. And if she sees all these comments saying, Lori, we love it, we'd like you to do more, maybe she'll think about doing it. I mean, and at least I can talk her into doing another one, a second one. Exponential growth. No, momentum. That's the word I was looking for. Momentum. Once you have 100,000, you got momentum. It could be critical mass. Yes, it could be exponential growth. But I was thinking of momentum. Yeah, that's it. So, and, you know, the more people who listen, the more people listen from them. And, you know, people want to be on the program and are always asking about it. So we have some interesting guests coming up for the rest of the year. I've got a number planned for the rest of the year. And of course, next year will be great, too. So we had a good year, yeah. And, of course, at the end, we'll have our end of the year summary. And, yeah, Eddie Holmes was a good one as well. Eddie actually came up to me and asked to be on at a meeting in Manchester. Paul had asked to be on for the second time. Let's see. Lori posted a link for TWIV. Feedback has been good thus far, and she's engaged. Good. So I put it in the TWIV feed, okay? That was a little sneaky thing I did. So the video I could have just put on YouTube, right? But the audio, what do you do with the audio? Because you don't want to just publish one audio. Nobody's going to listen to it. So I stuck it in the TWIV feed, which has, 60, 70, 80,000 downloads per episode. So I think that was a good thing to do. Even though I felt guilty doing it, I felt I was being a little sneaky, but I did it. And that'll get her a lot of listens. So that's good. And then I can go back to her in a week or so and say, what do you think? You want to do another one? And, the thing is, I want to get a sponsor for it because, Lori, what does she do for a living? She writes. So if she spends an hour with me, it's an hour she's not earning money. So she probably needs to be paid. And so I would love to get a sponsor. I could go to a sponsor now and say, here's episode 1, the pilot. I want to do a year's worth, 12 of these. It's going to cost this much money. Can you sponsor this? And it could be one person or a company or a philanthropy, whatever. So I have to work on that. Yeah, I have to work at that. And hopefully it can work. I would love to have her in the fold. And the other is I'd love to have Tony Fauci do something with Microbe TV. And I have to write to him. I'm going to write to him. I'll write to him maybe tomorrow or Friday and say, Tony, I hear you want to do science communication. We have a reputable science network. And I think, why not? He'll think about it. All right. So Amy is not here yet, but I'm sure she'll be here any minute. But let's see if we can take some questions here before she gets here. What kind of immune response can be expected if infected a week after the booster? A week is very close, right? So you're just beginning to respond to that first exposure. So a week later, it's going to augment it a certain amount, but it won't give you the effect, the bang for your buck that you would get if it was 6 months down the road and you let that first exposure run its course, do all the antibody and T-cell generation that it needs, make some memory cells, and then boom, you come back with a booster, get those turned on again and making more antibodies and T-cells. They're maturing and mutating and getting better and better. So a week apart's just not going to do that. Now, if you happen, and a week after a vaccine, you're not even going to get any protection from that vaccine because it's just barely getting going, making antibodies. So remember, if it's the first exposure, because you need 7 to 14 days to really make an antibody and T-cell response. Now, if it's a memory response, that should occur in 2 to 3 days, and maybe that week later would just push it some more. But it's not optimal timing by no means. And as you remember, the first 2 doses of the Moderna and the Pfizer were given 3 or 4 weeks apart, and that was too close. But it was done because we were in an emergency. And so we then realized the booster should be farther apart to get optimal immune responses. Hello, Ian. With the slow uptake of the bivalent booster, will the antivirals currently effective in reducing progression to severe disease be more widely available? Well, I hear a lot of stories about Paxlovid not being available, but who is it that said at some meeting or talk that I heard, only of all those people who are dying in the U.S. of COVID, only 1% of them are getting Paxlovid, right? 90% or more should be getting Paxlovid, and apparently there's enough for that. So I think they have plenty of Paxlovid. That's the one of choice. There's plenty of remdesivir as well. But I know that a lot of people say they have trouble getting Paxlovid. So obviously it depends where you are. Got my monkeypox vaccine yesterday. Good. Then tested positive for COVID today. I've got questions. So it's going to be interesting. Your COVID infection is going to boost, going to make an inflammatory response, and that's going to boost your immune response to monkeypox. All right, and hopefully, you got Genios. Okay, so that doesn't have a skin thing. It doesn't make a lesion. So I think you're going to be fine. I think you'll just have a better immune response to monkeypox and maybe to both. By the way, Offit said he loved being on TWIV. He thinks our camaraderie is great. I mean, where else can you have 4 or 5 scientists sitting around and talking to each other nicely for the most part? I think it's really unique, right? Well, it's different. Not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone can do that. Who wants to have an hour, 2-hour conversation with a bunch of scientists? Well, you guys like to hear it, but not everyone does. So that's fine. I got that. Yes, so today's fashion is the spike shirt. I like it very much. I think it's nicely done. Good job. So where can you get this spike shirt? Where is it? Vaccinated.us. So Matt from Vaccinated has been doing this promotion where you go to vaccinated.us, you buy a spike shirt, use the promo code MicrobeTV, and they give their profits to MicrobeTV. They've extended it for October, which is cool. It's doing well, and they've now added kids' T-shirts, so check it out. I mean, a lot of people like it. It's a cool product, right? It looks good. It's fun to wear. And you're supporting a good cause. So that's like a win-win. Amy is just pulling into her garage. 5 minutes, she says. I got her text here. I'm getting updates. Take it easy, Amy. Don't rush. Don't fall. So many people like this vaccinated promo. It's interesting. It kind of hit a nerve. So thanks everyone who's done it. And if you haven't, please buy one. It's cool. You get a T-shirt and you support us. What could be better? It's more support than we get from Cafe Press swag. I only put $1 extra on those. I probably should put more, but they're so expensive to begin with. His T-shirts are $21 or so, and I have to figure out how to get a better T-shirt mug company. Okie dokie. I read something briefly about virus injections used to treat antibiotic-resistant bacterial infections. Oh, okay. So, this is, I think, what you're talking about is using bacteriophages to treat some bacterial infections, right? Bacteriophages, which are viruses of bacteria. The viruses infect the bacteria that are infecting you. They kill the bacteria. This is at an experimental stage right now. There have been a few successes. There have been many failures. But I think that at some point we'll use it more widely. The problem is when you inject the phages into the bloodstream, which you have to do for some bacteremias, right, bacteria in the blood, then you make antibodies against them and you reduce their efficacy. So it may be best for topical applications. Did you know that? So there's a foodborne pathogen, Listeria, which is a big problem. It can make you very sick. And you can clean food preparation surfaces with a bacteriophage that will kill the Listeria. That's been FDA approved, or USDA, whoever takes care of that sort of stuff. So you can spray this phage on surfaces, and then you prepare your meats or foods. Isn't that cool? Spraying viruses. I love it. So I think that's what it's about. Link to Lori's tweet. There you go. Very good. Thank you, Vanity. I know that vaccines don't prevent infection, only disease, but how did we eliminate measles through vaccines? Well, we didn't eliminate it. It's still around, right? It could be eliminated because humans are the only host and immunity is lifelong, and there are few inapparent infections. But the vaccine isn't sufficiently distributed, and even here in the U.S., there are people who don't take the vaccine, so there's still measles that are imported from other countries. And then, there are over 500,000 cases of measles globally every year because many countries don't get the vaccine. This is a real problem. Health inequity. I was on a Zoom today, a meeting in Brazil, and I was honored to talk. Someone said and I wrote it down in my little, field notes, which I'm loving. there is no better investment than human health, right? You keep people healthy, they work, they have productive lives. Why is it that there's so much health inequity? And not only that, but even within a wealthy country like the U.S., we cannot decide to treat everyone who needs to be treated. We have to have an argument about it. I don't get it. Why can't we take care of people? In my opinion, the government's job is to keep people healthy and to keep them smart, all right? Education and health. Those are the two main functions of government. Then, of course, you have other things like building highways and so forth. That's great. But if you don't have a healthy populace, forget it. All right, I'm sorry to rant about that. But I do think it was a great saying. There's no better investment than human health. Let me get vaccinated off my forehead. All right, so we didn't eliminate measles, and we eliminate the disease measles, but we didn't eliminate the virus, and I don't think we will unless we vaccinate everyone. My doc said SARS-CoV-2 is mostly dead by day 4. Is that true? She said that's why positive tests may not correlate with infectiousness. Yeah, so if you look at Daniel's chart, right, within a few days after testing positive, you are at your peak of virus shedding, and then it goes down within a few days. 4 or 5, it depends, right? Everyone's going to be slightly different. But I don't say mostly dead, but the levels of virus, infectious virus, are substantially declined, and you are no longer at transmission risk, right? That's why 5 days should be enough. And the positive tests will pick up antigen or RNA beyond when you're infectious because they're very sensitive. So in an uncomplicated course, I think you can't use that to determine whether you quarantine or not. And at this point, the need is less because people should be taking care of themselves. You should either be vaccinated or have a plan to get your Paxlovid. I wondered what he and you thought about generally healthy younger people just catching BA4, et cetera, as here in the Isle of Man. That is our government's policy. Oh, not vaccinating them? No, I don't think that's a good idea. I think you should vaccinate people because you don't, even though we say young people are generally going to have mild disease, the key word there is generally, right? That doesn't mean 100%. There's always going to be someone that will not have mild disease for whatever reason. They could have underlying conditions that they don't know about. They could have all sorts of things. So I think everyone should be vaccinated. It's not a good policy. No. I mean, there's no good evidence that BA4 is mild, right? BA4 can kill people. It's killing people in the U.S. So I don't think that's a good plan. But they didn't ask me. What are the chances if someone who's had COVID-19 in the past have a positive PCR test result later on? Well, if you get reinfected, sure, right? Because even if you've been infected, you could be infected 4 times, you could get infected again because that's how the immune response works. It doesn't prevent infection, it prevents disease. So you could get infected again and you could be PCR positive, yeah. So by later on, that's what I assume you mean, that sometime later you will have another infection and you'll be PCR positive. Now, if later on you're talking about days, then yeah, even that can happen, and that's maybe a spurious result. Yes, so Rob, I hope you like that. Puscast has reports on fungi. Fungi, and yeah, that's the place where you would want that because they have to treat those fungal infections. Does anyone know how long SARS-CoV-2 remains in wastewaters and how long it remains active? So nobody knows about infectivity. That's what you mean by active, okay? Because nobody checks for infectious virus. Although rumor has it that Dr. Rosenfeld is going to be doing that. But that's just a rumor. Don't tell anyone. All they do is look for PCR positivity. And it clearly doesn't last forever because they can see peaks and troughs of viral RNA, right? I don't know offhand what the length is, but the sewer is a rough place to be for a virus, and I think they get trashed there pretty quickly. So I'd be surprised if any RNA lasted more than a week. But let's ask Amy when she should be here any minute now. I'm glad you guys liked Lori Garrett. I was worried because, when you record something, you always worry about it. You never know how other people are going to hear it. I'm glad to hear that they like it. I think, Lori is good on her own. She knows how to talk. She knows her stuff. And when she stays in her lane, she's great. And public health is her lane. Here she is. Let's have Amy come in. Guest one. Hello, Amy Rosenfeld.
Hello, how are you?
I'm sorry you had to rush to get here.
It's fine.
Hey, everybody.
Really
here's Amy.
A great word.
Okay. Well, welcome. We're really glad to see you.
It's good.
And everything's working.
Of course everything's working. I'm a perfect person.
You're the perfect person? So someone just asked a question here.
How many questions did you get wrong while I was away?
No. You can't
And
know.
what's up with the sweater thingy?
It's my spike shirt, see?
Oh, I see.
I wore it to show people. My fashion statement with the purple shirt and the black cloth. Do you like the combo, Dr. Rosenfeld?
I do. I do it all the time.
In another world, you would be a fashionista.
I am a fashionista.
No, that's the wrong word. You would be a designer. What do you think about that?
I would be. My aunt, who used to be in the fashion business, she used to buy handbags. Her husband owned a handbag company in France. They've all decided that I was the fashionista. And then when I got a haircut, the guy who cut my hair, the nosy one, he was like talking to me and he was like, so you know all about Halston and Studio 54? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, and the Texan bought the Halston townhouse in the Upper East Side, and he did not know who the Texan was. It was a disaster.
Paul?
It's Tom Ford.
Tom Ford. Sorry. I saw his store in Zurich.
Yeah.
So have you had a haircut since you were last on the live stream? Or I think you had it last week.
No,
right?
I had it in September. He cut my hair.
Okay.
Hey.
Yes, double purple shirts. You have a purple shirt, right? Is it purple? I can't see.
Yeah, it's purple.
Yeah. We're both wearing it under something. It's really warm down here. I should take it off. All right, here's a question I didn't know. Someone asked, how long does SARS-CoV-2 RNA last, say, in wastewater? Do you have any idea?
So the full length or fragment?
Or just something you could detect by PCR, say?
About 3 months.
3 months, because you see these ups and downs in the wastewater depending on infections, right?
Yeah.
So it does go down. You think the half-life is 3 months? All right.
Well, for a fragment, if you're just amplifying randomly amplifying fragments, for sure. If you're looking for full length, like a day, because RNA is super sensitive.
Okay.
For degradation, it depends on what you're looking for. Plus, if you're looking for a subgenomic RNA, you're going to have full length and subgenomic RNAs, which are made in excess. So it depends on what you're looking for.
Okay. Okie dokie. Eric said, any thoughts on my patients testing positive on antigen test more than 10 days from symptom onset? Mostly those who take Paxlovid. I assume they're not contagious. What do you think, Amy? Are they contagious?
No.
I don't think they are.
I bet. Well, let's ask this question: are they vaccinated?
Are they vaccinated, Eric? I would assume so, right?
I don't know. Can't make any assumptions.
Let's. Anyway, how would that affect your answer?
If you were vaccinated, definitely not contagious. If you are unvaccinated, potentially contagious.
Okay.
Because vaccination dampers virus reproduction significantly. So you would not be making virus that far out. But normal infection people, Daniel would say the infectious time was 5 to 10 days.
Okay. Ariel writes, Paul made it sound that bivalent vaccine may not be as effective and Omicron 4/5 alone might be preferable. Is this correct? No, I think you said we don't have any data to compare them, right? You would like to know if you boost with the ancestral and you boost with the 4/5, which is better. And we can't do that experiment because the FDA now no longer allows the ancestral as a booster. They withdrew the EUA. So we don't know the answer to that question. Is that correct, Amy?
Yeah, but I don't think that there's a booster of 4/5 alone.
No, it's a bivalent. That's correct.
Right. So it doesn't matter. So he says that his patients are vaccinated, so they're definitely not contagious after 10 days.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Rosenfeld.
Well, I can see it in the chat.
I know. Isn't it great to have the chat there?
It's good.
Huh. Sandra got Evusheld, or as Dr. Griffin calls it, Evushelf, beginning of August, since I had an ADR to the second and third dose of Pfizer. Will it still work when I get another in 6 months with the new variants? Well, Dr. David Hogue claims that Evushelf no longer works against 4.6. So it depends what you got infected with in 6 months. Maybe it wouldn't even be 4.6. Amy, is it possible that another variant would arise that is now once again susceptible to a monoclonal that didn't work on a previous variant?
Sure.
Yep. Think about that's cool about Amy is that she's always open to weird possibilities. Unusual, not weird. You are?
Apparently so. It's okay. I've come to accept it.
Who called you a weirdo lately?
Various people.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Well,
come to accept.
Look, the fact that you're here once a week for a couple of hours answering questions means you're not a weirdo. You're a nice person. Right?
I don't know that they're mutually exclusive, but that's okay. Let's progress onwards.
I have 2 kids, a newborn that lives with my wife and me. My 11-year-old lives with her mother. My 11-year-old's mother refuses to give her a flu vaccine or booster. Should I be concerned?
A booster of what? SARS-CoV-2?
Sounds like it.
Well, I wouldn't be concerned. I'd be more upset about the flu vaccine.
So you're not concerned about the COVID booster, but the flu vaccine,
no.
Yeah.
She's very young. She's healthy. No.
Try and reason with her calmly, speaking with the importance of protecting young children, okay? Maybe that'll help.
There's still 40,000 deaths a year on a good year of the flu vaccine. Why do you want to take that risk?
Why are the vaccinated boosted still dying? I lost a family member who was vaccinated and boosted, older with a couple of comorbidities. Definitely should have called PCP for Paxlovid, but refused. So Daniel says the people who are dying, either they're not vaccinated, which is not the case here. They're immunocompromised, which makes response to a vaccine difficult, or they're 75 and older, the elderly, as Paul Offit said, and they need to get Paxlovid, and they don't. Not enough. He said 1% of the dying people get Paxlovid. It's not enough. SARS-CoV-2. My grandmother was offered molnupiravir, as she couldn't take Paxlovid due to drug interactions. No discussion of monoclonals or remdesivir. When we asked, he told us to go to the ER. No, that's not right. Why would he tell you to go to the ER? I'm sorry. Daniel would say you better get a new doctor if they don't say, okay, here's why I don't want to do this for you, or why, sure, it's a good idea. Remdesivir would have been better, right? It has a better protection against hospitalization than molnupiravir. But it's better than nothing, right? Gribbler says SARS-CoV-2 is rapidly inactivated in water at ambient temperatures with a 99% reduction in 2 days. So that's infectivity, most likely, right, Amy?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do we guess is the optimal interval between the first 2 shots, keeping in mind what Gabriel Victoria said about the supergerminal center?
Well, work just came out by John Ware's lab at Penn and said that there was no difference in his study between time intervals.
What were the 2 intervals he looked at?
3 to 4 weeks, like they had been saying, and then like 6 months. So
And
there
no
was
difference
no
in what?
difference, like antibody levels or something. I haven't read I haven't fully read the paper.
Okay.
It's on the Cell website. You guys can read it.
Okay. So Gabriel Victoria thinks they're both primes. That's what he said. I said, shouldn't we have spaced them out? He said, no, they're primes. They could be 3-4 weeks. Maybe he's right. What do I know? I'm not an immunologist. I should stay in my lane. Thank you, Amy. And Martin says, I got my first Hep B vaccine. I was told to wait at least 4 weeks for shot 2. Is it better to wait how longer? Do you know anything about the Hep B vaccine?
No, but why would the kinetics of making antibodies in response to the Hep B vaccine differ?
Oh, they shouldn't be different.
So
the CDC, actually the state of Minnesota, says 4 weeks between doses 1 and 2 and 8 weeks between doses 2 and 3. That's what they want you to do, Martin. It's a 3-dose series, I believe, according to Minnesota. Right? Getting my T-shirt off. It was a great question. For person 78 years old with 2 Modernas, will a bivalent 4-5 booster reprint immunity to 4-5, leaving them vulnerable to future VOC, unlike Omicron? I don't think we know, Amy, right?
no.
We don't know the answer. But you are in the elderly category, so according to Paul, you're a candidate for the bivalent booster. You know, what we don't know is whether it's going to help or not. And if you say it can't hurt, Paul would say that's not a reason to get a vaccine. Have you seen the paper? Primate hemorrhagic fever-causing artery viruses are poised for spillover to humans in Cell.
I sent it last week.
You did?
Yes, Sarah Sawyer. It's good to know you read my texts.
I read them all, Dr. Rosenfeld.
Well, then you would have known it. It arrived last week. Sarah Sawyer.
I forget because I'm getting elderly now, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I do remember getting it. I think it's interesting. Poised for spillover, I believe, because they can infect human cells, right?
Yes, but they're also not susceptible to interferon.
Interesting. Human interferon, I presume?
Well, what other interferon would you incubate human cells in? Cow?
You don't need to be snippy tonight, Dr. R.
I'm not being snippy, but I mean, come on.
Not everyone is perfect. It's true.
I mean, that is true. You can't be perfect person if I'm perfect person. So yeah,
Does that mean there's only one perfect person?
No,
in the
I was
world?
being sarcastic.
Anyway, by the way, that's Twivable. I like that paper. I know Sarah quite well. Not quite.
You can have her on to discuss.
I could have her on. She would come on. I like Sarah. Caroline fell out of the loop. Can someone fill me in if we need monkeypox vaccines? There are monkeypox vaccines. The supply is increasing, and by the end of the year, according to Michael Merchlinsky, everyone who wants one should be able to get one. Do you need one? Well, it depends whether you think you're at risk or not. Are you getting a monkeypox vaccine, Dr. Rosenfeld?
No.
No, I didn't plan to get it either because I don't feel that you get it by contact, right? Rather close contact, and so I don't feel that I'm in that risk category. But there are some incidences where people get them without really close contact. They're pretty rare so far. So if you're worried about that, you should get it. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, I have to close this window. Oh, we have 400 people. Isn't that great, Amy?
It's good.
Okay, Rach had the flu jab this week, Rach from the Isle of Man, and asked what was in the jab, and he said 2A and 2B in Wisconsin. Does that sound right? Yeah, 2 influenza A, H1N1 and H3N2, and 2B strains. That's right. Austria, Singapore, it's Phuket, right? And then PHUKET, and then Wisconsin. That's absolutely right. You bet. Because there's economic inequity.
I don't know what that's in reference to.
Well, I do. I said, why can't we have health care for everyone? Yeah, but that's the point, Patricia. Take care of the people who can't afford it. Why can't we do that?
I don't understand what economic equity has to do with it. So you have... I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but that's why the government has to step in, because they have to take care of people who can't afford it, right? And Obamacare was a step in that direction, and certain people don't like it because it's not their idea, but it's what's helping a lot of people. Okay, go ahead, Amy.
Well, it's dumb because old people medicine, old people insurance. What is it? Medicare, Medicaid? What did you sign up for?
Yeah, one of those two.
Yeah, one of those two. Okay, so
Medicare. Medicare is for old people.
Whatever it is. Okay, yeah. So Medicare doesn't account for your economic strata. You have to sign up whether or not you like it or not after the age of 65. Otherwise, you pay like a $10,000 a year penalty, and you don't pay that penalty once. You pay it for the rest of your life. So, like for instance, I know someone in my family who misunderstood. When he hit 65, he did not pay. He is now 93 or 96, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's been paying $10,000 a year as a penalty. That's like $300,000.
It's crazy, right?
Okay. So this idea that we don't have socialized medicine in this country is ridiculous. And if you walk up to any Republican and you say to them, you have to give back your old people health insurance, they would balk at it. So it's because people don't even understand in general what they're talking about and what they're arguing about, that they don't realize we already have socialized medicine, and that the Republicans don't want to give that up when they're 65 or older. So what's the problem?
There's not equal health care.
It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is you get equal health care at the end of the day. You have an equal base. You have an equal foundation of healthcare after 65. So to say at 55 that you don't want to have equal healthcare because of economic inequities is ridiculous. Because in 10 years you're going to have equal healthcare, and if you're 25, you're going to have it in 50 years. What's the problem?
Oh, well, if you're 25 and you have no money and you need it, what are you going to do?
You get Medicaid. But what I'm saying is, look, if you just had universal health care, if you just had universal health care, okay, yes. It would be equivalent to old people insurance, because that's universal health care.
Okay. All right. So Joe says Medicare doesn't cover a bunch of stuff. Someone needs to do more research before talking about Medicare. Okay.
Well, let's just put it to you this way. Medicare pays for way more than this man knows about, because it's what pays for my mom's lymphoma treatment, her husband's neurological problems, every time he goes to the hospital because he falls and needs stitches or needs a bruise, her cataract surgery, her infusions,
okay.
Blah, blah, blah.
Look, I think this is out of my lane. However, there is not equal health care in the U.S. Okay, I think that's a fair statement, and that needs to be fixed. How come wild animals carry diseases and seem to go on living fine, where if we carried the same diseases, we may be we get sick, yeah. Many animals have had those viruses for a lot longer than we have, and we've gotten them more recently. But we also have many viruses that we live with that don't make us sick. So I think it's a matter of how long the species has existed with the virus. But don't forget that we do have some. All right, Ted says, NEJM letter today showed large differences in reinfections between pre-Omicron and BA4 or 5 prior infections. How common is this among other virus variants? Other viruses other than SARS-CoV-2, you mean, Ted? I'm not sure. The only other virus that I think it would be studied would be influenza virus. Large differences in reinfections between pre-Omicron and 4-5. I think I have to look at this paper, but I can't put it in the context of other viruses. Can you, Amy?
I don't understand the question.
Okay. Autoantibodies drive severe COVID. How does one get tested for antibodies against interferon? My GP has no idea. Well, there isn't a test, unfortunately. It would have to be done as a research project, right, Amy? There's no clinical diagnostic test, correct?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure you can contact the Casanova lab.
The lab that published that paper may be able to help you. Email the senior author and say, how can I find out? Because actually they do say a certain percentage of the population has autoantibodies. So some studies have been done to figure that out. Research studies for sure, but maybe you could get in on one of those. Why don't we have a rapid test for Nipah virus?
Why do we need a rapid test for Nipah virus?
Well, yeah, there aren't enough cases to have a rapid test, right? You can figure out what the infection is in a laboratory, but no, there are not enough infections to justify a rapid test. Wouldn't antibodies be sufficient to differentiate?
No. The
nuclear protein wouldn't be enough? They're too close?
And he didn't ask about nuclear protein. He asked about antibodies. So if you can give people the Hendra vaccine and protect against Nipah virus, it's probably going to be very hard to find a Nipah specific antibody.
Okay. Alice writes from Ireland, had 4 vaccines, had whole organ transplant 2021. Will it make any difference? Coming of more rejection meds this month. So you're a candidate for either monoclonals or Paxlovid, should you test positive. Okay. Some small studies have been done with solid organ transplant recipients. And, you get a boost in antibody levels, but we don't know if that's enough to protect you. And we don't know how long it's going to last. So, Alice, you need to have a plan with your physician to get monoclonals and to get Paxlovid. What are the highest risk microbes for which no vaccines are available? What would you say is high risk, Amy?
I don't know. I don't know what high risk means.
Because, there's some dangerous ones, but they don't kill all that many people, right? So we're just talking about Nipah and Hendra. Quite severe infections if you get them, but they're small numbers. So, but nevertheless, vaccines are being made against those two. I would say, Lassa is quite a high risk. In Africa, there are 5,000 deaths a year. And so we could use a vaccine for that. It's in development. We do have an Ebola vaccine, which is very good.
It only goes against one serotype.
Yeah.
It's only against the Sudan, and now the outbreak is not against the Sudan.
I thought it was against Zaire, which is the most common.
Whatever. It only goes against one, and the outbreak today is against the other.
You don't have to be snippy, Dr. R.
Well, you're being pedantic.
No, I'm not being pedantic.
Yeah,
I'm just
you're being
correct.
pedantic. No, you're being pedantic.
Okay. Are there any bacteria that are lethal, and we don't have.
Of course.
How about
MRSA.
MRSA? Acinetobacter. It's another one. How about tuberculosis?
We have
The Bacillus calmette-guerin vaccine is not very good, I understand. We could use a better one.
Well, that's not the question. The question is we have one, but it sucks.
Yeah. And
We
so
have a
those
flu
are-
vaccine and it sucks. So move on.
No, there's no Quest diagnostics for that, JPJ. You have to go to the paper and email the senior author and tell them that Amy and Vincent told you to email him and find out where you could get tested for autoantibodies. And he will answer you. Jean-Laurent Casanova. Right? Yeah, there's a vaccine for TB, but it's not that effective. We don't use it in the U.S. That's right. Vincent, you and I are the same age, have the same birthday. Is that right? January 2nd, 1953, had mumps, chickenpox, measles, not rubella. I had mumps, chickenpox, measles. I don't know if I had rubella or not. Is MMR advised, and how long wait to get shingles vaccine, or would Shingrix cover measles? No. It will not. Shingrix is just for shingles, right? Which you would get if you had chickenpox as a kid and you didn't get chickenpox vaccine. So you should get Shingrix. And you can get that right away here in the U.S. I got it within a few days of making an appointment. Are you going to get a Shingrix vaccine, Amy?
Eventually.
Eventually. You're so young. So is an MMR advised for you because you didn't have rubella? I don't know how old you are. Oh, same age as me. Sorry, 69. Is there a lot of rubella circulating, Amy?
Not that I'm aware of, but there's definitely measles circulation.
Yeah.
Well, like 700 kids just died in Africa of measles in like Uganda or something.
Zimbabwe.
Okay, Zimbabwe.
Yeah. I would talk to your doctor, truth or dare. I think it's a low risk for you. Why do you think we don't screen for HSV 1 and 2 in the default list of sexually transmitted disease screenings? Do you know, Amy?
I do not know, but I did not know that I would have considered HSV-1 a sexually transmitted disease.
No, but 2 would be, right?
Right.
I don't know. Does anyone know? It's a good question. We're going to have Felicia Goodrum on in a couple of weeks. I'll ask her. She's a herpes person. Good question. It's great that Paul asked to be on. I hope you get a sponsor. I'm glad you put the public health episode in the Twiv feed. It's the perfect place for it. Thank you. I did consult my consultant before I did it, and I was advised by my consultant that I should do that.
Perfect. You should keep that consultant. She seems really good. Or they seem really good. I don't know. Somebody seems really good.
John is curious why there seems to be more concern about original antigenic sin than repeated infections with the circulating strains of the virus. Amy doesn't like the concern with OIS, right, Amy?
Right. I don't think it makes much. I don't think it's biologically correct. I don't think it's biologically correct.
Yeah, and I agree that with John that the risk should be the same with infections, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imprinting should happen with infection or vaccination. That's how it happens with influenza virus. Either infection or vaccination could do it. Vanity, did you see the Nature article about SARS-CoV-2 making fake histones? Oh boy, did Amy see it?
I saw it. It's our fate. Susan Weiss.
Yeah.
I saw it today in Nature. Susan Weiss.
Amy wanted to work on Orphate 2 years ago, and she thought it would have some important role in infection, and she was right. but we didn't get funded for it. But it's an interesting observation. Maybe twivable, right, Amy?
For sure.
Julie says, this may be silly thinking, but anything to the pole ice melt exposing new and bad bacteria and viruses from thousands of years ago. I don't know what Amy thinks, but I think it's not a risk, right? I think a lot of things are frozen there, but who knows what they are, and there's no indication that there's anything untoward there. So I know that the guy, Jean-Michel Claverie, makes a big deal of this. He's, this is very scary in his French accent. But I just don't see the risk. There's no indication that there are viruses in there that are going to infect people and cause problems. So it's not silly thinking, but because others have proposed this, Julie, so it's okay. All right. Paul Office said clearly Omicron is milder, and we don't know people are dying is with COVID or because of COVID right now. Well, yeah, so he said COVID is milder, but I don't agree with that. Because Daniel said he has patients who clearly have COVID and it's killing them, SARS-CoV-2 infection, and it's killing them. The with or because of COVID, he was talking about with respect to hospitalization. If someone is hospitalized and they have a COVID test and it's positive, that's a COVID admission, but that shouldn't be included in the COVID statistic, so it's different. Okay, so Tryon wants to know if OPV is accidentally injected, would it induce paralysis?
No.
It has to revert first, right?
Right.
We have some people saying hi to you. Billy Bob and Vanity said hi, Amy.
That's because I was late.
Les, Gwen, Amy, welcome. Great to see you.
It's good.
Elimination and eradication are different epidemiological terms. Eradication, pathogen no longer exists. Elimination equals no longer endemic. Is that right, Amy?
Yes.
So with elimination, there's still some virus around, right?
Yes.
So can we eliminate polio?
We can come. That has a better chance of success than eradication. Yes.
So basically, if you vaccinate everybody,
we've eliminated polio here in the States.
Right.
We have not eradicated it.
Right. We're going to just keep vaccinating, aren't we?
Yes,
polio.
we
That's
are.
it. That's the solution. And sadly, poor countries are not, and they will have polio.
No, poor countries will use OPV.
Okay. And who will provide it to them? Bill Gates?
Well, the WHO provides it.
Oh, yeah, he pays for it, right? Rotary and Bill Gates and others pay for it, right?
Well, yes, they pay for polio vaccination. I don't know that they pay exactly for OPV, but yes.
Okay. Thank you, Kaz. Good point. I have to keep that in mind for my class.
Well, next time you have public, so since Lori has like 3,500 downloads or views on YouTube and probably many more, next month when you record with Lori, you should discuss these public health terms and how they're different. And it could be a whole episode about how they're different and what they mean and stuff. I wrote
it down. Elimination versus vaccination. Yeah. Elimination versus eradication. I have a green pen that I use here on the live stream that matches my blue glasses. Isn't that cool? By the way,
very lovely.
You don't think we would spend a whole episode talking about elimination and eradication, would you?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to spend an episode talking about why the CDC is broken.
Well, that's episode 2, but episode 3 could be elimination versus eradication. And how eradication is not correct for polio and why people bought into it who were smart but really not so smart.
I think you bought into it, Dr. R.
No, I never bought into it, but that's okay.
All right. Mighty Gamer saw a video where they were using genetically modified polio to treat brain cancer. Right?
That is true.
We do know all about it. We know the person who made the virus.
Well, the person who made... Yeah, I guess he did make the virus when he was at Eckhart's.
Yeah, Matthias. I am puzzled as to how you can do this. If you don't want people using poliovirus, how are you going to treat brain tumors with it? But more importantly, it doesn't work all that well, right? It extends your life a month.
Yeah, but not in the majority of patients.
Yeah, I don't think it's the answer, frankly.
Well, he's been at it for 30 years and he hasn't really gotten it off the ground.
All right, so Rach says, we in the Isle of Man, we're vaccinated, but no boosters unless old and immune suppressed. Okay.
That's what Paul would say.
Yeah, but I think the first booster everybody should get, right?
Sure, we can go with that.
Bob Billy says you're perfect in practically every way.
I was actually just being sarcastic, but thank you.
It's very nice of him to say that.
It's wonderful, but I was personally being sarcastic.
So sometimes I can't tell, Dr. R, when you're being sarcastic or not. Look at the furrowed brow on Dr. R. See, I have furrows because I'm old, and you don't have these. But when you go like this, that's not an age thing. That's consternation. Is that the word? Holly wants to know if she should get her booster in the same arms as the other ones.
Sure. Go ahead.
I think it doesn't matter, frankly. I think the differences are minimal. Do whatever you want. I think I got it in the same arm because I was facing the person with the same arm, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't matter. Just read New York Times article about malaria, hope to eradicate it with the new vaccines. All right, so the new vaccine, at least the one that's been licensed, is not going to eradicate malaria. It's just not good enough. But they could develop others in the future, perhaps, that might do it. Can you eradicate it? No, because
it's got hosts that are not humans.
It's non-human hosts. I'm thinking of, the mosquitoes pick it up from what? Non-human primates?
I guess.
I should know this. I've been on TWIP for 8 years.
Well, I don't want to point that out, but yes.
I can. Yeah, malaria parasites have the ability to switch hosts, which malaria has P. vivax and Nolzi are originally non-human primate parasites that jump the species barrier. So that's why you can't eradicate them. Nope. It's a good question. Would NSAIDs taken daily starting at 48 to 72 hours following vaccination affect immunogenicity? What do you think, Amy?
I think Daniel would say no, but I think Offit would say yes.
Well, CDC doesn't like you to take them, but that depends on... It's not recommended you take over-the-counters before vaccination. It's not known how these might affect how well the vaccines work. However, if you take them regularly for other reasons, you should keep taking them. So, Otobotodogo, you did the right thing because you had them for something else. You kept taking them. That's the right thing to do according to the CDC. Okay. What would happen if you gave someone a COVID-19 vaccine immediately after exposure to SARS-CoV-2? Which one would have the faster immune response? Considering the incubation.
I don't get the question.
So someone is exposed to SARS-CoV-2, right? So now they're incubating it, and then you give them a vaccine.
Okay.
Which one would have the faster?
Well, wait. You have the same person who's been exposed, and you're giving him a vaccine. So which one is faster? Which one is faster?
Which one will give you the faster immune response? I think vaccine will, because the virus has to have an incubation period and start ramping up, right? But it's going to be close. I don't know why it's of interest, actually, to even know it. Nobody knows the answer. Paul Offit in Overkill says not to take NSAIDs after vaccination. Yeah, unless you have to, as we said. And Jody gives everyone Yom Kippur blessings. Thank you very much. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only altered. What are two individuals' perspective who has studied biology's thoughts on reincarnation? There's no reincarnation. What do you think, Amy?
There's no reincarnation.
Okay,
Your
so,
carbon goes back into the earth and it is used for something else. It gets recycled.
and we are both people who have studied biology, so there you go. So Steph says weird is cool. People aspire to be weird. Yeah, they do. But you don't aspire to be weird. You're not weird. You're just studious and insistent and honest. I don't think you're weird. Do I call you weird?
Let's move on to the next
sometimes
question.
I do. Sometimes I do.
Let's move on to the next question.
I get frustrated. Corbavax. You know anything about Corbavax, Amy?
No, but that he's been tweeting how he was nominated for the Nobel Prize.
This is disgusting. If anyone should get a Nobel Prize, it should be the mRNA people, not him. Why the hell would he get it?
I don't know. You have to ask him.
Houston scientists get Nobel Prize nod. This is such nonsense.
What did I just finish saying?
It's ridiculous. Never going to get a Nobel Prize for that. Anyway, I don't know what's going on with this. I just don't listen to Peter Hotez. I just am not sure when he's saying things that are correct or not. Les got his flu vaccine on Monday. I have to get mine soon.
That's great.
Okay, that means. What do you mean?
I'll call you and we'll go. I'll call you to go. Okay.
I have to go uptown. I have to find out the hours. Yeah. Let's see. What vaccines and what timing would you suggest for a trip to Cape Town in January? Well, how old are you? Yeah, I think if you're under 75, you don't need to do anything. If you're 75 or older, get a bivalent booster. Is that good, Amy?
Yeah, I don't know what they suggest for Cape Town. I've never been to South Africa.
But
Brianne would know. She likes South Africa.
Yeah, she's been there many times.
So.
Can new genes be inserted into a phage genome? Yes. If so, could you insert the gene for chimalin or a sponge protein into a phage to provide it with defenses against bacterial defenses? Sure, you can do that. You can do all kinds of countermeasures. Yeah. Here, it's impossible to get Paxlovid if you are not in a nursing home, sadly. Where are you, Mr. Keidman? I'm just curious. How many months did you space out your 2 Shingrix?
He hasn't gotten the second one yet.
I haven't got my I got the first one a month ago, right? Roughly.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
So
eventually we'll get to the second.
Yeah. 6 months. I'm going to do 6 months. I like the 6 months.
Okay.
And who listening says, you're not weird. You're just smart and interesting.
I'm just very smart and interesting.
I'm sorry, I left out the very.
It's okay.
All right, we have a lot of talk about healthcare. I won't bring that up because we had a little disagreement about it. All right, with respect to the bivalent shot possibly resetting imprinted immunity, would the answer as to getting the bivalent booster be different if the person is 48? Well, according to Offer, you don't need it at 48. You're still able to have protection from severe disease and death from the original 2 shots plus booster. So you don't need it. Patricia said, in D.C. we have Medicaid, good coverage for people of no or limited means. It's not just about access to care, guys. I see this every day. Yeah, but what about in other parts of the country, Patricia? I'm sure it's not the same everywhere. Okay. Here's a lot of discussion about healthcare. But I'm excited that I'm going to start collecting Social Security in January. I'm very excited about that. I don't know why. I think I'm finally. So I've been paying into the system for 70 years now, right? So now I can get some of it back before it goes broke. That's the way I look at it. I can buy Amy a bottle of scotch.
Okay.
What do you think, Amy?
Sounds good.
Victoria saw broadening of B cells after dose 2 when given while the supergerminal center was still active. Possibly Omicron booster would confer broader antibodies if given as a 2-dose series. Maybe, but I don't think they're going to look at that. It's just want 1 dose. It's hard enough to get 1 dose. And as Paul said, only 4 million people in the U.S. have gotten the bivalent so far. So I think it's going to be a hard sell. So here's kind of what I think. And Brian says our healthcare system is a disgrace, for-profit business. It's immoral, period. Any U.S. citizen getting healthcare in the EU will be amazed. Well, but for example, I don't know. I have a cousin. My wife has a cousin in Canada, and her partner has to go see someone, and he has to wait a week. He's in great pain, so instead he goes to the ER because he can't get an appointment sooner than a week because of the healthcare system. So that's not good. You have to fix these issues.
Okay, so let me get this straight.
No, I don't want to get it straight. Okay, go ahead.
No, forget it.
Okay. The flu H5N1 is in European birds. Are human at risk? It's not new. It's an H5N1 that's been around for many years. Most humans are not at risk because it mostly infects people who are in proximity to birds, chickens mainly. So I don't think it's an issue, no. Yeah. So, all right, we'll do that. Healthcare. Don't want to talk about that. I'm sorry I brought it up, but I do feel strongly about it, except.
Well, the reality of it is your example, the guy still would end up in the ER here in the United States. So your example isn't really the right example. But
Why? Because you can't go see your
because the truth of the matter is if he's in extreme pain, he would still end up at the ER here in the United States.
Fine. That's why I'm not a doctor. I'm just a virologist. Kaz says, infectious pathogens eliminated but not eradicated in Australia by WHO definition, measles, rubella, polio. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Can you envision a circumstance where Ebola would become a global pandemic?
Not unless it dramatically mutated in order to be more efficiently transmitted, which I doubt is ever going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's highly unlikely. It's not impossible, but I think it's highly unlikely to happen.
I think it's close to as impossible as you could probably get.
Okay.
Well, I mean, let's get real here. Many of the bee influenzas, right, or the bird influenzas, don't really. And Nipah viruses and Lassa virus, I believe, and some other things, they spill over, but they never actually make it so that they transmit from human to human. And they've been doing this for 1,500 million years. So if you can't figure it out, I don't necessarily want to figure it out now.
So wild animals who are sick get killed by predators. That's true. So a lot of them we don't know about who gets sick. And that's so for bats, for example, we say they don't get sick, but they do. And we just don't observe them enough to see that. Or they isolate themselves to die. This is all true as well. So I think the idea that animals don't get sick from viruses is not correct. You know, whether they get more or less sick than we do, I don't think we have an answer to that. There is a vaccine for malaria. Yes, it's being used in Africa. We've talked about it on TWIP. It has to be given like 6 times. It's highly problematic because to get kids to go back 6 times is really hard. but it's
Why?
better
We're
than nothing.
expecting you to go back 6 times for SARS-CoV-2.
Now me, I go back 3 times and I'm done.
I'm just saying that the government by this time is expecting you to go back a minimum of 5.
What does he mean by the TWIV feed? And why is that being sneaky? You could ask me, Patricia. You don't have to ask others. The feed is what's a better way to put it? When you get the audio version of TWIV, when I release a new episode, your podcast player senses it right away, and that's the feed. It's where all the episodes lie. So I stuck it in there so it will pop up as a TWIV episode, basically, even though it's not TWIV. Why is it sneaky? I'm being very cautious. It's not TWIV, and I don't want people to say, hey, this is not TWIV. I don't want it in the TWIV feed. And I'm just being funny, because in reality, I can put whatever I want in the TWIV feed, right? So the reason I did is I wanted to get a lot of attention, because the TWIV feed gets a huge amount of attention. And the TWIV feed is simply the stream of episodes that come out once or twice a week, okay?
Well, in less than 30 hours, it's gotten 4,000 views on YouTube and who knows how many actual downloads. So I think it's doing pretty well.
It's doing very well. Lori is a good draw, for sure.
So
her last episode
she should
did
be
well
happy.
Too. I think she will be happy. And hopefully I can convince her to continue. Okay, Wayne says not polar ice, permafrost. Yes, it's permafrost. You're absolutely right. And Visto says we're going to get mammoth flu. No, I don't think so, but it's funny. Very funny. A recent paper warns of vaccination for a mother breastfeeding a child less than 6 months old within 48 hours post-vax. You know anything about this, Amy?
No.
I don't know why that would be an issue. Hugo, you have to send me the paper, please. Vincent at microbe.tv. We hear about flu in Australia is very hard this year. Do we have numbers? There are numbers. You can probably get them. They're probably online at a public health site. I haven't looked at them, no. Flu is bad. More so were all the lesser cold viruses. Are you aware of that, Amy?
Yes.
Oncolytic virus treatment would make a good TWIV. We've actually had several in the past. We've had quite a few episodes in the pre-video era, if you wish. But we could have more. I agree. Furrowed brow. Yes, parenting causes a furrowed brow. That's what I have here. See, Amy?
I understand. You have 3 kids.
Parenting and training graduate students.
You had 25.
You counted them?
You've said so over the years.
Yeah, Gabriel says get the shots in the same arm, but I think the difference is marginal. But you can get them in the same arm if you want. I don't see Animal House tonight. Do you, Amy?
Animal party. She must be working.
I like this name. This Week in Public. Oh, This World in Public Healthy. That's funny, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good.
If doesn't address long COVID, neuro issues. Yes, he didn't. We did actually in the previous visit, which was this summer. And I asked him, what about long COVID? He said, can you define long COVID? And so that's part of the issue he has with it. I'm going to have some physicians on upcoming, and they can talk about long COVID. They're treating patients. We'll see what they have to say.
Might be shocking.
And I understand that avoiding death and hospitalization is not the only goal. So you can do whatever you need to do to prevent that. I totally agree until we have a better understanding of what long COVID is and how long it actually lasts. It's absolutely right. What if we reincarnate through the dark matter? No, it doesn't happen. Can't be reincarnated. And yes, Nobel nominations are a dime a dozen. I could nominate Amy for a Nobel Prize. I could just send in 20 pages of stuff to Stockholm.
Yeah, I
and nominate her.
understand. But, I didn't tweet it about myself. I don't want anybody nominating me. I haven't done anything.
Alexander Campbell had an additional question about Paxlovid potentially interfering with the Jynneos vaccine. I assume because it's an infectious virus. I doubt it because Paxlovid is... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Paxlovid is specific for the coronavirus protease, and I don't believe it would be cross-reactive with Jynneos. No. Jody loves being weird. I think that's fine. I think a lot of people love being weird. To be different is good, I think. I got SARS-CoV-2 and rabies vaccine within 2 of each other. Should I be concerned? No concern. You're good. You're good. Make sure the Scotch is a single island malt. Wouldn't buy anything else. Absolutely. Do you like single malts, Amy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lagavulin is good. I like Oban. I like Islay, Isle of Islay. Is that the one? It's a peaty one. I have a bottle of... No, Talisker. I really like Talisker. Yeah. Sorry. I know I'm getting it wrong. Don't jump on me. I'm just a virologist. Yeah, I know. You can't get an appointment with your PCP within a week. I know. I get it. I got it. Okay.
So exactly what was your point then?
I withdraw the complication about Canada.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Very good. Very good.
Chemistry, Nobel Prize.
People who did click chemistry.
Yeah, Mark wants to know what we think. So it was the physics, which has to do with quantum mechanics, which I don't really understand. And then there's the click chemistry, which is good because you can make libraries, screen them for various things. It's really good stuff. I like
Could
it.
do it internally with in vivo. That's what she did, was she made click chemistry be able to be done in the cell.
Tremendous. Who do you think is going to get the medicine prize this year?
It already came out. It was the guy who did the Neanderthal sequencing. It was on Monday.
Oh, Svante Pabo?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's cool. Once Nels
not
asked
clear
him,
why. I'm not clear why it's Nobel Prize winning, but okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's he didn't make a new technology. He just took existing ones and modified them. So I just don't think that's a Nobel Prize. But
well, it's no different than sequencing the hepatitis C genome, which I didn't think was Nobel Prize worthy either.
Charlie Rice.
Mm-hmm. And the guy in Japan.
Well, I think it was
cotton. I don't think it's Nobel Prize winning. I didn't think the HPV sequencing, HPV or whatever, was Nobel Prize winning either.
He showed that HPV caused cancer.
Oh, well, somebody else got a prize for sequencing a pathogen too. I didn't think it was Nobel Prize winning.
I agree. Well, it's too bad. But once Nels tried to get Svante Pabo on Twivo, he said no. He said he wanted to go skiing. So that's a Nobel Prize person.
How is that a Nobel Prize person? Because he's arrogant?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Whatever.
I think when you get a prize, you get arrogant. Although this was a year ago, 2 years ago, so it doesn't count. You're right. I'm just being silly. All right, now I'm very tempted to click on these healthcare comments, but I don't want to because it's not my area. It's not what we're here for tonight. All right, here we go. Not sure I get not needing boosts before 50. At our 50, our ability to form B and T cells gets worse. The establishment of memory B and T gets worse. That's correct. But I think it doesn't get bad enough until 75 or up, because that's where we're seeing the increased hospitalization and death, even in multiply vaccinated and boosts people. That's the point Offit was making.
I don't know that that's the right conclusion. It's just a correlation. I don't think it's the right conclusion, because if that were the right conclusion, you would see that for every vaccine
Well, I don't think
and
it's been
every
studied very
disease
well.
and every disease. So, as I said, I don't necessarily know that that's the right conclusion. I think it is just a correlation. It's an overinterpretation of a correlation.
Stacy says, I never get the flu. What's your best argument to get a flu shot? Well, it could kill you one day. You may not have had it so far, but someday you might get it and you might die. So I would say, Stacy, we like you, get a flu shot. That's the reason, because we like you. In Taiwan, we have national health care, high quality, and I've never had to wait. Appointment and MRI, $15 US. Can we do that in the US, Amy?
Sure. But you're never going to get people to do it, because people like to have other people feel. People need other people to feel bad in order to make them feel good and powerful. So good luck to you.
Yeah. One reason to wait until the third trimester would be to give antibodies to the infant. I don't remember the original question, but yes, that's absolutely valid, Andrea, for sure. And then Patricia says, I'm guessing the chronic disease burden in Taiwan is not even close to the U.S., i.e. higher level of general health among the populace. That could very well be. These are all important issues. Any advice to
we
new
also have a smaller population. But, I mean, the reality of it is these are all superficial rationale for not doing it.
Brandon says, any advice to new grad students to minimize brow furrowing their advisor? Yes. I think you have to pick your advisor wisely, first of all. And communicate. You have to communicate frequently, because the less you communicate, the more complications you're going to have. Those are my suggestions. Do you have any, Amy?
Read. Yeah. Read a lot. Read a lot of history.
Read a lot.
Read a lot of history, because if you don't read a lot of history and you walk into your PI's office and you say something like blah, 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 the PI, and it's totally wrong, or you were supposed to have known that, you're going to look like an idiot. And your first impressions and early impressions by a PI, you're never going to overcome. So, for instance, somebody I know works on polio, and they said to me, oh, he did this infectious gland in the receptor mouse, and I just walked out.
Why?
Because obviously that person doesn't really work on polio, because if he did work on polio, he would actually know those topics, and he wouldn't have said it. So he's A, not smart, B, he's not well-read, and C, I don't have any patience for people who therefore will not be intellectual contributors.
Okay. Jack says, Social Security will still exist after the trust fund's reserves are depleted, which is expected in 2034, but retirees will only receive 78% of their full benefit. Right. I don't want to do that. I want all my benefits, so that's why I'm going to do it now.
Right, but people like me won't get all their benefit unless Congress acts.
You think they will?
Well, the minute you start taking money out of Mitch O'Connell's pocketbook, I'm sure he'll do something.
Blends are fine for Manhattans. Yeah, for Manhattans, they're good. Absolutely, blends. But you want to drink neat Scotch?
I thought Manhattans were rye.
You can make it with bourbon or rye.
Oh.
You can make it whatever you want.
Okay. What do I know?
Here we have a report from Shanghai. 18 in showers. You know of any adverse effects from rabies vaccine? No, I don't know of any. Do you?
No.
Let's look it up. Rabies vaccine adverse events. Soreness, redness, swelling, itching at the site of injection, headache, nausea, abdominal pain, muscle aches, or dizziness. There you go. 5 doses. So that's what you can expect. Thank you, Ian, for your contribution. Is the term infection synonymous with replication, but does not equate to disease, whether from a virus or bacteria? Kia ora for all your work. So you don't think infection is the same as replication? No. What is infection, Amy?
The entry of cell that leads to the generation of production of infectious virus progeny.
And
But
what's replication?
replication is just copying of the genome. It doesn't have
Yeah,
anything to do with the
that's
generation of infectious progeny.
yeah. Most virologists would agree with us, Amy.
That's fine with me.
I think reproduction and infection are similar. It doesn't equate to disease. No, disease is something else.
Do you think that they're synonymous?
Reproduction and infection. Yeah,
That's what
reproduction
you
is the
just
whole
said.
cycle. Yeah.
Oh, reproduction. Okay.
Reproduction, yeah.
Okay.
Svante Pablo's dad was also a Nobel winner.
I thought it was his mom, but yes.
Gee, it's too bad.
What?
That he got the Nobel for sequencing the Neanderthal genome. Anyway, you can read his book. It's an interesting story.
I mean, you had less problem. You had no problem with people who sequenced the hepatitis C genome getting it. Should be no
They
different.
didn't get it for sequencing the genome. They got it for recovering the virus and sticking it into chimps and showed that it caused hepatitis, which is what... Yeah,
that's not what Charlie... That's not what he got it for.
Yeah, he didn't get it for sequencing. He didn't get it for sequencing. Well, why didn't I get it for sequencing polio then?
You were a postdoc.
He
David
did
already had a Nobel Prize. I mean, get real here.
Look, we can look at the statement. I guarantee you, Amy, I will bet you a bottle of Lagavulin that he didn't get it.
You're going to lose, but that's okay.
For sequencing. He got it for establishing an infectious clone and showing that the virus recovered from it caused hepatitis. Is there any evidence of transposons jumping between species? Yes, by hopping onto viruses. And I think Cedric Fichot talked a little bit about that, and he wants to come back because he has another cool story, so that'll be fun. And here are some numbers from Australia.
He got it for the generation of a version of Hep C that can be grown and studied in the laboratory.
Yeah, an infectious clone, and put it into the monkeys and shown that it caused
No,
Hep
it just
C.
says infectious. It just says in the laboratory. It doesn't say
Then
anything
I should have
about
gotten
animals.
it for polio.
Well, then Sabin and Salk should have gotten it for the vaccine.
It's fine. I don't
There's no
mind.
consistency, so let's not discuss it.
All right, here are the numbers for flu in Australia. Thank you very much. Oh, yes, the breastfeeding paper was a research letter on detection of trace amounts of spike in breast milk. Yeah. If that's what...
I'm not sure how you use PCR to detect protein, but that's interesting. That
That's
PCR
not,
now is protein.
He just made a mistake. But if that's the case for that paper, it doesn't really mean anything. It's going to be... You're going to find trace everywhere. Okay. What's the point of having bivalent? Why not just Omicron half? Well, I have an idea about this. Amy hates it. She absolutely hates it. So what do you think I should do, folks? I think they realize the original vaccine works really well, and they don't want to throw that out. Okay? So they hedge their bets. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm thinking. All right? My question about virus variants relates to whether there are any patterns in how different viruses mutate.
No.
No, there are no patterns. It's all quite random. Did these guys mention the ideal time to have the fourth after the third? The fourth boost after the third? At least 6 months. At least 6 months.
And who are these guys?
You and me.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. Is anyone recording the A&V bets? I think there's a case of wine and a bottle of scotch on the line. The scotch I know, because that's tonight. What's the case of wine from? Do you remember? Amy would remember. She's got an amazing memory.
Let's move on.
All right. So if someone remembers what the case of wine was, let us know. How durable is our immune system's memory for flu vaccines?
There's no flu memory. That's
It's
what
really
Rafi
poor.
says.
It's very poor. I've received yearly doses since 98. Is my body protected against the collection of variants in those shots? A reason to get yearly shots? No. You need to get yearly shots because there's very poor memory. Sorry. Until they fix it, which they'll do. At some point, you should get yearly shots, which is what we do.
If there's poor memory against infection, you think a vaccine is going to do it? Dream on, baby.
Yeah, I think technology can overcome biology.
No.
Don't you, Amy?
No.
I do. I have faith in technology.
I'm really surprised at the arrogance of that statement.
Oh, it's not arrogant at all. Come on,
Totally
Amy,
arrogant.
give me a break.
If you think you can, if it's totally arrogant if you think that you can outsmart Mother Nature. It's what I said at the beginning of the
I said our technology can
it's never going to
overcome its
outsmart Mother
limitations.
Nature. It's never going to do it. So let's move on. It's 10 o'clock. Let's move on.
Some doctors said the bivalent should be just as safe because the technology is the same. No, that's not correct. You don't know how a different sequence is going to behave. We do need testing. We still test the flu vaccine every year, even though it's the same technology and a new variant. We test it.
But we don't test it necessarily for safety. We test it for immunogenicity.
It's put into 30 people, and if there were any safety issues at a low frequency, you might see them, right? Anyway,
out of 30 people,
you are in the FDA. What do you think of phase 1 is, Dr. Rosenfeld?
I never agree. It's not my rule. I don't I don't regurgitate this stuff because some of it is just not logical.
All right. Well, it's 10 p.m.
Yeah.
It's time to let Amy go have some dinner. Thanks to the moderators tonight, Les, Steph, Frank, Tom, Vanity Nutrition. We appreciate your coming. Got a little shorter evening tonight. It's cool. Give you a break. Thanks to everybody for coming. Over 440 people. It's really good. 270 likes. Before I say goodnight, could you give us a thumbs up? Get us over 300. That would be really nice. And
don't forget to buy a T-shirt.
Yeah, don't forget to buy a vaccinated T-shirt. Show your Vax gratitude, support Microbe TV. And if anyone wants a technician position, a technical assistant to work with Dr. Rosenfeld, here's her email. I have it right here lined up. amy.rosenfeld@fda.hhs.gov. Shoot her an email and say you're interested in the position. You could work with Amy on enteroviruses, figuring out the reason why there's cross-reactivity. Yeah, look at that. They got us over 300. Thanks, everyone. You people are wonderful. Thank you so much for coming. Come back next week at the same time and place, and we'll continue this viral conversation. Amy Rosenfeld, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thanks, everybody.
Talk
Good night.
to you tomorrow.